This is TV Black Box, bringing you the inside goss from the TV industry.
Hello and welcome to this special episode of TV Black Box, because I'm talking about one of my new favourite things. Many of you would have heard me talk about After the Verdict. And I've got the creators, not just the creators, the writers, the executive producers. I think they also fetch the coffees. It's Ellie, Beaumont and Proffitt. Hello, welcome to TV Black Box, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, look, it's a real pleasure. I've got to be honest, I'm not an advocate, that's the wrong word. I'm not passionate about Australian dramas usually. But something about After the Verdict has really connected with me. And I think this is one of the best Aussie dramas that's been around in years, seriously. And congratulations to you both on that.
Thank you so much. That's great to hear. What did you like about it?
Well, I like the fact that it's a little bit unpredictable. It's very real. Literally, I was just watching a bit of episode 2 before I came in to do our chat. And even the line about the fire batteries, when the daughter quotes the mum and says, "You said I'd rather die than put up with that noise from the fire alarm." And we've all been there. And I think it's really hard for writers to tap into real conversations. And I think you both have done that with this show.
Right.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think that is actually something Ellie has said to her own children.
Yes, no, it helps when you're an incompetent mother and you're writing an incompetent mother, because it all just flutters, really.
It's method writing. And I'm the potential murderer out of the two of us, so that's where that.
Well, write what you know.
Alleged. I've got a note from my lawyer. Alleged killer.
Hey, production and drama in this country, it's very, very difficult. So, Ellie, how hard is it to get any drama up in this country?
Yeah, look, you're right. It is a challenge. And we certainly feel very fortunate that this show happened with the support of Nine and, of course, Screen Australia and Create New South Wales, or Film New South Screen New South Wales, and E1, of course, our distributor. But yes, of course, it is hard. I mean, we've got limited number of domestic broadcasters, and then, of course, you've got to raise the international finance and prove that you've got some kind of global appeal is the formula. And it's challenging for anyone.
Drew, you obviously have form with House Husbands, so you had that connection with Nine. Does that make the process easier?
Oh, definitely. I think when you've worked with those people before, and you kind of have a shorthand and you understand each other better because you've got that history. But we're just really grateful that Nine have, invested in a small indie local independent production company, especially, in this current climate. So we're just really grateful that they got behind us as a company.
Absolutely.
And that is your new production company that you guys have started, and it's Subtext Pictures. And that's a brave thing to go out and do your own production company, especially when we've just gone through COVID. The industry hasn't been as active. Are you mad or brilliant?
Oh, both. Look,
it depends when you ask. When COVID hit, we probably would have said mad, but then we got a commission, so that makes us brilliant, I guess.
Yeah, look, I guess we've been really lucky with the people we work with. We have someone in the company called Rebecca Greensill who pretty much saves our life on a daily basis.
Right.
She's a director herself. She's a writer. She associate produced this. She can do virtually anything. So we've just kind of learnt that if you attach yourself to really talented people and keep working with them, you can get away with murder. So that's so far worked. And I guess, it's, having that kind of creative control and integrity is important to us, and also being able to have straight, open conversations with the people who are commissioning you is incredibly useful, even just on a purely commercial level. You can hear very, very quickly, we don't want that. We're not making that. We're not looking for that. And that happens on the deal side internationally as well. And you've got to have a thick skin for that, is what people tell us. But it's like, well, it's actually easier to hear that earlier in the process than when you've written your spec script and plotted, 40 episodes and found out, well, actually nobody in the world wants this, or there's already one that exists, or, so
the amount of time you save makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, it really does. That's a succinct way of putting it. But it's actually fun. We love all that side, and we've been fortunate to work with Greg Sitch as well as an EP, and he has been incredibly generous in what he's taught us about deals and how to get your shows out there and looked at by people. So far we've had a lot of fun. Yeah,
and we've been really lucky too with the funding bodies. Screen Australia have been really supportive from the very beginning with us and Rebecca Greensill. We've got enterprise people to bring her into the company at an early stage, which was invaluable. And we've done 2 shows now in Sydney, so Screen New South Wales have been with us. They're actually with us from the very beginning of development of After the Verdict. So
yes,
we feel quite supported in that sense. So
yeah,
we don't feel too crazy.
Not too terrified at this stage.
I remember many years ago having a conversation with Michael Healy, and his sense of pride about House Husbands. Like, he was genuinely very, very proud of commissioning that show and what that show had achieved. And obviously, you guys having been involved in that show gives you good credit with someone with such high power. So when you come and say, we want to do this kind of show, and what I love about it, it's not a typical Aussie show. And there are a lot of great Aussie dramas out there, but I love the quirkiness of this one. Obviously, the setup is that we've got our jurors, they've found someone not guilty, and then they question whether they have made the right decision. But what I love is that the storyline doesn't take me where I expected it to go. So as things start to play out, even the lady accused comes across very different than what you expect as a viewer, and the path it goes down, and then the twists and turns where you start to think one thing and then you're rethinking what you just thought 10 minutes ago. That's really clever writing that you don't see a lot of.
Oh, that's great to hear. Look, I think if you can't surprise with your writing, you can't engage your audience.
Yep.
That's fairly obvious, but people do sometimes forget it. And indeed, sometimes you get criticised. I've literally sat in meetings, not on this show, thank goodness, where people have said, oh, and this scene, I didn't see that coming. And that's directed as a sort of criticism. And you think, well, shit, that's good.
No, I don't think that's a bad thing.
But honestly, sometimes people do say that. So absolutely, you will sit in a plot room, and it's what we try to do every day. It's what's the obvious thing that would happen here, and then let's subvert it, and let's come up with, and you can't obviously do something with a character they would never do. You have to follow some kind of internal logic and reality and emotional truth, but you've got to then take that and go, well, in real life, people still do surprise you. They're funnier than you think, or they're more dangerous or sillier or whatever. And so the challenge as a writer is to find those moments and make sure that your audience is surprised and that you are not underestimating them, that they will go with you and kind of come along for the ride. Oh, it's very loud. Sorry.
Lots going on at your production company. Drew?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I'll wait.
So we'll let Ellie shut the windows.
Sorry.
Drew, once you've written it, Drew, is it true that sorry, I'm going to pick up myself now. Casting is such an important part. Not only do you have to get the storylines right and the writing right, casting is very important. And you had Magda Sabansky. You were thinking of her when you were writing her role, weren't you?
Yes, absolutely. And like as Magda herself said, she said the part is a 60-year-old lesbian butcher. So if she didn't get the part, she would have done something wrong. So we definitely had her in mind. Absolutely. I mean, I've been a fan of her since, I was growing up, and I've always just admired her as a performer. And it was actually no surprise. I always knew that she'd be great at drama, because even in her characters, I think one of the reasons why that she has struck such a chord with the Australian public is there is such a humanity to all the characters that she plays, and especially Sharon. And there's that sadness and melancholy in her. And there's so many levels to all those characters she's created over the years that it just felt like, it felt crazy to me that this hasn't happened sooner, that she wasn't in a drama. And when we came up with this character and we're like, this has to be Magda. I mean, we called the character Maggie, so that's a bit of a clue that we might have had her in mind from the beginning.
It wasn't subtle.
So it wasn't subtle, but it was an absolute, like when she agreed to do it, it was a very, very exciting day. So the younger me was very excited because I've been a fan of her since forever.
Yeah.
Well, Drew, that's something that happens in this industry. You find yourself working with people that you've seen on television or in the media for many, many years, and suddenly you're working with them and you're an equal, or you're their boss. And it's such a strange turnaround in your own head. I've had situations where I've been talking to people and going, I can't believe I'm telling you what to do, you know. So how do you find that when that happens to you?
I would never tell Magda what to do.
That's the difference between you and me, Drew.
She knows exactly what she's doing. Look, it can be intimidating, but when it's someone like Magda who's just such a warm person, like she never plays that power trip on you, although she absolutely could, and actors with way less standing than her have certainly tried.
Always the ones who aren't the stars. Yeah. It's always the bit players that are the biggest problem.
It is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I just try and enjoy it as much as you can. But there are moments where you do pinch yourself and you go, I'm actually having a conversation with Magda Szubanski. Like, that's quite surreal. But then you kind of, normally the adrenaline and the stress of trying to get the day shot, you kind of, you don't have much room for those feelings.
Ellie, Magda is one of the main characters, but obviously Michelle Lim Davison is the main driver of this. And I've got to say, I really wasn't aware of her before The Newsreader, which is another show I love. I'm saying I'm not into Australian drama, and then I think, actually, I watched this, I watched that.
Yes, The Newsreader is terrific, isn't it? We love it too.
Oh, terrific show. Is that where you saw her, or were you aware of her before that?
I think we were vaguely aware of her, but we saw her specifically in an episode, actually, in a scene. And I won't say exactly what the scene was, except it was she's a completely different character in that show, but she was doing something a bit Clara-esque. And she was pointing out to another character, I think the character played by Stephen Peacock, about how he might go about doing something. And she was kind of both getting him excited, but also explaining something to him in a really non-patronising way, even though he was quite slow on the uptake. And she was, I don't know, she had that Clara kind of obsessiveness and enthusiasm, and yet a real warmth and empathy about her. And I just rang Drew and said, watch this scene, remember? And we just went, oh, my God, that's Clara. Yeah. But then, of course, she went through the whole audition process because it's a completely different character, and nailed those auditions. She has incredible comic timing.
Yes, which is where we'd seen it before, like obviously in Utopia and Get Kraken, so I was a big fan. Oh, yeah, of course. And also I think the fact she's in Play School, I think most of the presenters, like this is really true, most of the presenters on Play School are brilliant actors and are really lovely to work with. Like some of the, like Justine Clark is just a dream. And like I think it's often if you're a host on Play School, it means you're going to be a really nice person to work with, and you're a good actor, a really good actor, and you're professional, and you can engage because you have to, because it's just you on the screen and you're engaging with that audience one-to-one. So I think it takes a particular amount of charm to be able to do that gig, and she's been doing it for ages. So and all her theatre, so much theatre work as well. Like she's got all the foundations to be a brilliant performer. She is. We love her, obviously.
How long do you guys live with this before it goes to air?
Goes to air?
Yeah, so it goes to air in August. Yes. How long from the initial idea? When does that spring? How long have you been living with this concept?
Sure, you're better with numbers.
It's got, any question about time over these last few years is so confusing because I could say it's been since.
But is it years? Is it like 2 years,
I think we wrote up the very first, I guess, pitch document for the idea. That would have been early 2020. So that was when we kind of started thinking about it.
And then you got COVID.
So just before, it was January. So then I think it was just before COVID, the first one. Then we pitched it to Nine. So we're working on it and figuring out exactly what it was. We pitched to Nine about mid-2020. And then, so we're in active development since probably September 2020. So I guess that's 2 years of devoting a serious amount of time. But it's been percolating for about 2.5 years, but the actual like more hands-on work's been about 2 years.
Yeah.
Between.
So for 2 years later, Ellie, you're very close to the on-air date where everyone gets to judge it and react to it. How do you feel as you get closer to that TX date?
Terrified. Just want to hide in a hole under my doona. No, look, of course, I mean, excited, obviously. The cast is so good. The directors came and did an amazing job. Peter, Ben and Fadia did a fantastic job. So excited for them, for their work to be out there. It's always tough to put something out there. You know that yourself. But really hoping that people respond. I guess I hope this doesn't sound wet, but there's a lot about the show that's about friendship and connectivity between people, and that's really important to us. And I think as COVID happened and we had this show, I hope people will respond to it because there was a lot of genuine heart that went into saying to people, yes, we are people that want to connect and have purpose. And when those two things combine, it's a lot of fun. So, hoping that Australian audiences really enjoy it. It means a lot to us to make original drama in Australia. It doesn't happen that often. We really hope people like it, and that's all you can hope for.
Well, it's interesting. The first promo I saw for this show was at Channel 9's the day after Logie's, the Logie's recovery lunch that they do. And we sort of knew this thing was coming, but we hadn't seen anything about it. And the promo dropped in their reels, and everyone in the room was very intrigued. It got laughs in the right places. There was intrigue. And I remember texting the team at TV Black Box and saying, I've just seen the first promo for After the Verdict. This looks great. And then after watching the episode, it was nice to see that it wasn't just the promo guys, the promo producer doing a great job. They had the content to work with. This is a genuinely great show, and it feels different. And sometimes Australian dramas can get a little bit up themselves and trying to be too Australian drama. But Drew, you've avoided that. You've got the quirkiness, but it certainly takes you on that ride.
Yeah, well, I say being up myself for my personal life.
I just live being up myself, so that's why I accuse others.
Well, I think because that's kind of just the kind of people we are. We enjoy making each other laugh. Often, that's kind of what the focus of our plotting sessions can be, is who's going to make each other laugh. So I guess that's just kind of who we are. And I actually think that's who Australians are in a way, without getting too kind of, Vegemite and cheesy. But I do think that that's kind of the Australian sensibility. And it's also because it's real life. Like in real life, you do find yourself laughing in unexpected places. And I don't think people take themselves as seriously as some TV shows portray people as taking themselves seriously.
Correct, yes.
And I think particularly now, just to go on what Ellie was talking about how, this show's about friendship and connectivity. And I think people at the moment, after, things that have been happening in the world, I think that you want to watch something that is going to be ultimately hopeful, even though this show does have legitimately, dark and some scarier moments. Overall, hopefully the feeling that people walk away with is, I just watched this story about 4 people that otherwise would, if it weren't for this jury duty, never would have met. But it turns out that in a way they become each other's surrogate families in a way. So, But yeah, I think, we try not to be up ourselves because we're not very good at it.
I'll give you some lessons. Guys, I love the show. I'm really a fan, and devouring the episodes. I think it's great television, and I really love seeing it. And as I say, it doesn't fall into easy plot lines, if I can put it that way. It would be very easy for everyone to keep a secret, but then characters come clean, and that leads to more interactions happening. It's really clever. I really love it. After the Verdict starts August 10 at 8:45 on Channel 9. Drew and Ellie, you must be very excited. It's going to be a cracker.
Thank you. We are.
Thank you for being on TV Black Box. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us, Rob. See ya.